All right, welcome back to the channel, everyone. So today we have two things to discuss. First being Justin Gaethje. So let's get right into it, Matt. So Ali Abdelaziz, Justin Gaethje's manager, recently did an interview with Submission Radio, where obviously he's going to talk a lot about his different talent pool and all that, like all the fighters that he's got. But today I just want to focus on the Justin Gaethje portion because it's a little wild. So the interviewer asks, who do you think could be next for Justin Gaethje? And then Ali says Justin Gaethje fight the winner. And in context, he's talking about the winner of Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira for their upcoming lightweight title fight. Ali says Justin's won 3 out of his last 4. He saved the UFC 2 times, which, to say you've saved the UFC, I feel like only Pereira could really say that, especially since Pereira stepped up short notice to defend an undisputed belt for 5 rounds. Obviously, a lot of his fights don't go 5 rounds, but still. For him to go short notice, not having a full camp, to defend a 5-round title fight is a lot different than stepping up to fight, Rafael Fiziev or Max Holloway, right? So, I feel like at best, Justin Gaethje's been a really good company man, but to say save the UFC, I don't think so. But, moving on. Ali says Justin's done so much for the sport, which rightfully so. He has been a top 5 contender for a while now, and he has really good fights. And that's the thing. By no means do I dislike Justin Gaethje. I just don't like how he goes about things sometimes. And he says that apparently if he's not going to get the title fight, he's just going to hang up his gloves. Where the UFC or the interviewer's like, really? Like what? Like surprised, because that's the thing. These bold ultimatum statements that these fighters make towards the UFC generally don't go well, especially if you're not a former champion, current champion, or like a legend, right? Because that's the thing. As much as Justin Gaethje is highly regarded in the UFC, he doesn't have the pull of a standing champion or someone like that, right? And not only that, I feel like the UFC has been very fair to him. So for him to just be like, yeah, all or nothing kind of thing, I feel like it would really piss off the UFC, especially when they're dealing with the whole John Jones situation. So to add another annoying hassle of a negotiation, probably not the best time to do it right now, but it is what it is. I guess we'll see how this whole thing plays out, like Dana White would say. And I guess the time of recording this, when they recorded this interview, Ali was speaking to Justin Gaethje the day following that, before that. And this is when he was talking to him about all this. So Justin said, if I'm not going to get the next title shot, I feel disrespected. I love being a UFC fighter. I love the UFC. But I feel like the UFC has to love me back. And he doesn't feel the love right now. Which is completely mind-boggling. And you see like the comment sections. The fans are not happy with this sentiment. They couldn't disagree more, and I'm in the same boat, because to say you don't feel the love from the UFC after getting 2 title fight opportunities, literally you fought for the BMF title and then you were able to defend the BMF title, or at least try to defend it. How many fighters can say they fought for the belt out of the whole UFC roster? Maybe 1%, maybe 2. And then how many can say they fought for a belt twice? Even less, right? Not only that, the BMF title, which obviously comes with a lot of money, and then being able to defend the BMF title comes with a lot more money, especially being on UFC 300. So for Justin Gaethje to act like, oh yeah, the UFC, I don't feel the love, when you've been given all these opportunities that literally other fighters would kill for, is completely absurd. And like I said, this kind of bold negotiation tactics will probably not fare well for him in the future. Because, let's be honest, so Ali says he's won the last 3 out of his last 4, right? Let's look into it. So, starting off, you have Gaethje versus Fiziev, their first fight. Which, Gaethje did well, but it wasn't by any means like a total domination. Like, people were disputing that Gaethje won that fight. Then he fought Dustin Poirier for the BMF title. Knocked him out, which is a really good name to have on your resume, especially by knockout. Literally, next to nobody finishes Dustin Poirier. So, for him to have that, that's great. However, The next one, Gaethje versus Holloway. He got knocked out and knocked out bad. And I feel like that's in a lot of the fans' minds, even though he fought Fiziev after that. I feel like just that scene of him getting knocked out like that, especially by a 45er, really, really, really leaves a bad taste in the fan base's mouth. And that's why a lot of them are like, not a chance Gaethje deserves a title shot right now. Especially when Makhachev was the title or the champion. I was like foaming at the mouth with rage that Justin Gaethje was in talks of getting a title shot, because it's like I said, getting 2 title shots is absurd. And not only that, it's another grapple heavy style. Whereas like Justin's shown that he does not have what it takes to defeat these high level grapplers. Like the elite grapplers, he does not have what it takes. So I said before the Oliveira Topuria fight got booked, I say if you want a title shot in this division, you have to go through either Oliveira or Arman Tsarukyan. And that's the thing. Because Justin Gaethje has had these opportunities before. And I feel like, as a kind of like a rule of thumb or whatever, when it comes to deciding who deserves a title shot, this is what I think should happen. And I know it's hot take or whatever, but you should be coming off at least a 2-fight, maybe 3-fight win streak, depending on the circumstances. Plus, that win, at least one out of those wins, should be a top 5 fighter. Especially having a similar style to the champion, to be able to sell your chances to actually become the champion. Because that's the thing. Like, let's say, before this, let's say Justin Gaethje, right? He beats like a kickboxer, and then he's going up to fight Makhachev. Does that really do much for him? Whereas fighting the next best guy in Arman Tsarukyan, right, a wrestler, if he got through Arman Tsarukyan, then it's like, okay, damn, like Gaethje can actually hang with these wrestler guys? Okay, give him the title shot. Now we know that he can actually hang and win against these guys. Whereas, literally, he fought Rafael Fiziev, who is, let's just say, far from Oliveira and Topuria's skill set, right? Not only that, Fiziev's very small for the 155 division. He was talking about going down a weight class, right? So that's the thing. Being knocked out badly against a 45er, and then getting by in not a close decision, but still, against Rafael Fiziev, who he already beat him, coming off the couch with an injury that took him out for a year, to me, really doesn't scream title shot. I'd like to see Gaethje get another win. And that being said, you look at who's calling Gaethje out. Paddy wants to fight him, and so does Arman Tsarukyan. And I made a video before about kind of sorting this thing out, because I feel like the UFC is obviously upset with Arman Tsarukyan, so they're not going to give him what he wants. Well, they might, but it's very unlikely. It's unfortunate, because if I could have my way, I'd have Arman Tsarukyan fighting Topuria for the belt instead of Oliveira. But, I get there's a lot of Oliveira fans out there, and the reason I want Tsarukyan instead of Oliveira is because Oliveira, I just don't think he has what it takes to beat Topuria, because Topuria has nuclear power, and Oliveira gets dropped nearly every fight he's in, at least in the top 5. And I just feel like Arman Tsarukyan has the most compelling style matchup, because that's the thing. Before Topuria moved up, I feel like Arman Tsarukyan was the closest one who could beat Makhachev. Unlikely, but he had the skill set to at least hang with them for 5 rounds. Whereas Gaethje, I don't see where he beats any of these guys, especially Oliveira. Topuria, maybe because he's a lot taller, but that being said, Topuria is a much better boxer than Holloway with double the power, right? So if you're getting beaten by or knocked out by Max Holloway, then what's the appeal for him versus Topuria, right? So, like I said, I made a video of sorting this out. So if Paddy gets his way with fighting Gaethje, and that's the thing, if Gaethje plays ball and he doesn't retire, he doesn't get a title shot, that gets booked. And then you do Arman Tsarukyan versus Dan Hooker. To me, that makes sense, because that'll give each guy a top 5 win. And let's say Gaethje beats Paddy or vice versa, title shot. And then depending on how Arman Tsarukyan looks against Dan Hooker, title shot for him as well. And to me, that just makes sense. I think Justin Gaethje is far from deserving the belt, or at least a 3rd crack at the title, because that's the thing. I get he's near the end of his career, but I just don't think the fans believe in him to get this thing done. So if he beats an Arman, or he beats a Paddy, or anyone like somewhat younger, to be like, okay, yeah, I can beat these young guys. you guys could count on me to win this fight. It's like, okay, cool, book him. But as of right now, I do not think he deserves it. And if he walks away, I feel like it would be. That's the thing. He has been through a lot of wars, so it wouldn't be the worst case scenario for Gaethje to retire because you do want longevity. You don't want the sport to retire you. He's been through a lot of wars, but if he does, it'll be. I'd say it'd be disappointing because I would like to see him versus a Paddy or a Armin before he goes, because that's the thing. He could still make a run at the title. It's just very unlikely that he wins, especially now. That being said, obviously if he looks great in his next fight, by all means. But yeah. Moving on. So Diego Lopez. I remember I made videos about him being rumored to fight Gene Silva. And he goes on Twitter, and I guess he lays out what's happening with his negotiations behind the scenes. So this is what Diego Lopez says. It's translated. Let's get to the facts. After the fight against Volk, the UFC contacted me asking how I was doing. I told them all the recommendations the doctors had given me. I said that I'd be ready to fight in September. They offered Aaron Pico. I said yes. Which is like, why is Aaron Pico deserving of the world? Like, what are we doing here? What has he done? Like, look at all these other Bellator, PFL guys that are coming in. Like, they're not looking great their first fight. Like I said, literally, if you're coming in from another promotion, no higher than ranked like top 10, right? Top 5, no way. Because 90% of these guys, I'd say, have a really bad performance coming in their first fight. So if you want to give him a top 5 and then kind of ruin his chances of looking good for the next year or so, by all means. I just think it's a stupid idea. I feel like top 15 for sure, top 10 maybe, depending on how experienced they are. But that's it. Prove yourself. For Aaron Pico to get all these different opportunities, like, I just don't get it. Like, what? It's crazy. But whatever, man. Obviously, if he does pass these tests with flying colors, then by all means, the sky's the limit. But I just hate when someone comes out of the promotion and getting a top 5. Because to me, it's like, it's hard enough to get to the top 5 of the UFC, let alone stay there, aside from heavyweight, right? And literally, it's just complete bullshit. Like, it's just disrespectful to the top 5 guys. Like, what's the point of them getting there if they can just give their spot away to someone who hasn't done a quarter of what they've done in the sport, especially in the UFC? But whatever, what do I know? Okay, so I'd be ready to fight in September. They offered Aaron Pico. I said yes. 2 days later, they offered me Gene Silva. I said yes. That's the fight I want to see, because obviously Gene Silva, I feel like he's a really, really, really high potential upcoming star. And if he can beat the guy who just fought for the belt, by all means, title shot. And I'd love to see Gene Silva versus Volkanovski. That'd be an amazing fight, especially if they're not going to do Movsar versus Volkanovski. I feel like Gene Silva is star written all over him. He is a little polarizing. Like, a lot of the fans didn't really like his build-ups with like Bryce Mitchell and all that, because like they felt like he was trying too hard. But I feel like the fans will get used to him, and especially like the barking thing. A lot of people were complaining about that, but that's the thing. I'd rather him do too much than nothing at all, right? So that's the thing. I'm a Gene Silva fan for sure, and I definitely want to see him go up to the top 5. All right, and then he said, when UFC moves UFC right into San Antonio, Yair Rodriguez, I said yes. Or he's talking about UFC Noche. I also gave the suggestion of offering the fight versus Movsar or Lerone Murphy. If you have any doubts, ask Dana, Hunter, or Sean if I have ever denied a fight. The day I refuse a fight, it has to be because of a very serious health issue or because I'm truly unable to fight. My career was built on accepting fights. I have 32 professional fights, not for nothing. So that's the thing. And apparently, Yair Rodriguez turned him down because if you remember the huge fight that they were having with, or not fight, but like on the press conference with the Volkanovski title fight, like that had book me written all over it. The build up, the hype, because that's the thing. The press conference was kind of like, whatever. Like Gene Silva versus Bryce Mitchell, they were going at it, but it was entertaining while it lasts. But then, as soon as everyone was saying like, okay, it's gonna be over, boom, Gene Silva, or sorry, Diego Lopez and Yair Rodriguez just start going ballistic at each other. And it was hilarious to watch because I didn't know what they were saying, but the animosity they had, and you can tell like they had personal issues. And it was hilarious. The build-up would be amazing and easily, like you could do that for the UFC Noche card. Even though it's not in Mexico, I feel like that's what they should be doing. But knowing the UFC, they're probably going to try to rebook Yair versus Volkanovski 2, which nobody wants. And it's very unfortunate. But yeah, apparently this is what Yair Rodriguez says in response to Diego Lopez. I prefer to fight him, meaning Diego Lopez, in the streets because a fight with him in the company does nothing for me. Which, as much as I hate this shit, if Yair Rodriguez is promised a title shot, obviously it's a no-brainer to take that over a fight with Diego because Diego Lopez is a very, very dangerous matchup for Yair. And similar with the O'Malley situation, if he accepts that fight and then loses, then he's even farther away from the title shot. So it's just frustrating because hopefully the UFC can get either Yair versus Diego done or Diego versus Gene Silva. Because Gene Silva, I just want to see him at the top of that division, replace the old guard, and get some new, fresh names in there. Because obviously, Movsar Evloev, he's close, but he still needs one more. There's no appetite for the Yair Rodriguez rematch, and Diego just fought for the belt. And then Arnold Allen still has some work to do at number 6, and then Brian Ortega, I mean, nowhere close to the belt. So yeah, no, I'd like to see these fresh matchups, and it'd be great. It'd be great to have this on the UFC September card, but it doesn't look like UFC or Yair wants to play ball. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. I get where Yair is coming from because it is risky, but yeah. That's all I got to say today, and like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.